I think to some extent, like what you said, it's kind of gotten into the background. The work that is required to actually develop that mindset, to develop that personal mastery, what does it actually take? Because we don't have time to spend on that inner work or even reflecting what is the best way forward. What does personal mastery mean for you inside of everything you've been through?
A great question, and I think it's a wonderful topic that you've framed this podcast around. I'd also like to say, for those listening to the podcast between Ramesh and Poorani on this topic, which was recorded not long ago, that'll give you a real good basis for starting. I really liked what you had to say about the relationship between individual development, personal mastery, and waking up to the global issues that we're actually working for. That was a beautiful story. So for me, personal mastery, having been orbiting around those concepts through the family of people that I mentioned earlier for a long time, and I'll even share with you that I realized I should find out what's been going on. So I asked ChatGPT to give me a current update on how personal mastery has been used, criticized, etc. So I did my homework before this.
Oh, thank you.
at some cost to the planet's CO2 budget, but that's another story. So I just have three quick things to say about personal mastery. One, I definitely have experienced that it's a lifelong practice. You are never done trying to get a handle on yourself in relation to the work that we're doing. I taught a lot of what we used to call master classes, which seems to me a little bit arrogant that I was teaching master classes before I have totally mastered anything. But one of the things I kept bumping into there, for example, just to pick one example and why the relationship between individual and everything else is so important. A lot of people lift up intuition, and I do too, as an important source of insight. And of course, our brain, my goodness, most of what we think and decide is actually happening unconsciously. And then our neurologists or neurophysiologists tell us that the part that's thinking is really just the PR system for what the rest of the brain is doing. But in any case, sometimes an intuition is a genuine insight. Your brain has processed lots of information in ways that you weren't even aware of, and offers it up to you as an aha, or a hunch, or a feeling, a gut feeling. Sometimes it's just a reflex, it's something that your parents used to do this and it made you upset, and so you're upset, and now you think it's like the way the world works. And that distinction between a true insight and something that's just a habit of mind from maybe even past trauma is really difficult, and it follows you the rest of your life unless you're maybe a Zen master or something else. So that's the first thing. Buckminster Fuller was one of my old heroes, and people like to quote him as saying, it's all about trial and error, error, error. You just keep trying. Second thing, personal mastery is not just personal. It's about relationships and dyads, groups, communities, and institutions, and I'd love to talk more about that. And then the third, to be super quick, personal mastery, it can bring us a lot of personal fulfillment and a feeling of fulfillment, but we also have to acknowledge that sometimes what it means is, and what it requires, is a certain amount of sacrifice. You don't get to personal mastery by just doing what you think you really want deep inside. You get to personal mastery by making some deep accommodations to the needs of the world and your own needs and the needs of the people that you're close to, and having a very clear, as much as you can, given all the challenges we've just talked about, ethical compass to help steer you in that regard. That's my current take on personal mastery, and it's not an encyclopedia and it's not complete, but it's how I orient myself.